Hello, good day, and welcome to this session on warehousing. By the end of this session, you should be able to explain the principles of warehousing, describe key roles of warehouses in the supply chain, explain the types of warehouse operations, as well as explain the factors to consider for an ideal warehouse. When you talk about warehousing is basically premised on the principle of the functions that a warehouse performs. And basically, a warehouse is a commercial building which functions as a temporary place to store goods or inventory. And it should be noted that a warehouse is a key part of every supply chain because a warehouse is the part of the supply chain that facilitates the interconnectivity that exists between actors in that supply chain. So the relationship that exists between the supplier and the focal firm is enhanced or facilitated by the presence of a warehouse, either at the supplier side or the focal firm side or both, so as to facilitate the movement of goods or products between the two. The same applies to the relationship between the focal firm and the downstream customers. So the presence of warehouse helps to facilitate or serves as the node between or it serves as a node which forms or which helps to strengthen the link between the actors in a given supply chain. So in essence, warehousing can be considered as the holding of goods until they are needed in a given warehouse, and it involves a set of activities that are involved in receiving and storing of goods and preparing them for reshipment to other destinations. So in general, the functions of a warehouse are classified into the following. A warehouse receives goods. A warehouse, as I said, the warehouses they facilitate the communication and the exchanges that exist between suppliers and then focal firms as well as focal firms and customers. So at the focal firms organization or facility, their warehouse is what they use to receive raw materials from suppliers. The same applies to the warehouse at the customer's facility. That is what they use to receive finished goods from the focal firm for storage or for resale. Then the second function of a warehouse is that it helps to prepare records or it helps in the preparation of records. As goods are being exchanged or goods are being received at the various respective warehouses, they store certain information about the goods, and the warehouse manager or the warehouse officer, a key role played by them is that they store data relating to these goods that are being received into the facility so that proper records are kept for finance, who will then go and make payments for those goods, and they also serve a greater function for audit purposes. Then the second one is identification. So certain advanced warehouses have other tools that perform secondary production activities on goods that are received into the warehouse. So certain warehouses perform packaging activities in the warehouse. Certain warehousing have facilities that do labeling in the warehouse. So they help to provide forms of identification for the goods that have been received in the warehouse. Then the warehouse is also used for storage. One of the main functions of a warehouse is used to store goods for safekeeping or for future reference so that the goods are not kept anywhere to be mishandled. Warehouses are designed in an ideal state to facilitate the storage of goods and services, thereby protecting these goods and services. And then warehouses are also used for parking, in the sense that warehouses help to consolidate goods. So if goods are made in unit items, or if goods are made in boxes, the advanced warehouses have tools that help them to consolidate these goods so that they form them into a whole unit so that they can be packaged onto pallets so that forklift trucks can easily pack them nicely in the warehouse to save space or to utilize space in the warehouse. Then another function of the warehouse is keeping information about receipts. This is similar to receiving of goods because what the record that comes with receiving of goods is the receipt. So the warehouse officer checks the accompanying documents that come with the goods and they make sure that they are conforming or consistent with what is being received, and then they cross check it, and then before they receive the goods into the warehouse for further processing or storage. So in every warehouse there are certain operations that are performed in a typical warehouse, and these are some of the operations that we are going to talk about. So the first one is storage of raw materials. This can be seen in terms of the focal firm site, who receives raw materials from suppliers' points and then they store them in the warehouse so that they can be retrieved in bits to the production floor to be converted into finished products and then dispatched to the customers in the supply chain. Then the warehouse also is used for intermediate postponement, customization, or sub-assembly facilities. So for companies that do not produce in batches, that is, companies that the end of their production does not come out with a final product. Let's take, for instance, a vehicle. If you go to the factory floor of a vehicle manufacturing plant, they don't come out with a vehicle at the end of the production. They come up with sub-assemblies, or they come up with components or parts of a vehicle, and these parts are stored in a given warehouse so that they can be assembled finally into a vehicle as and when customers or consumers require them. And this is a key function that's provided by warehouses. They facilitate postponement or they facilitate customization. In essence, postponement is the ability to do that assembling activity in a future time, and customization is the ability to add in special characterized products or characterized sub-assemblies or features to a car or a final product. So a warehouse facility offers this ability to organizations. Then it also offers finished goods storage, and this can be for both the focal firm as well as the customers. So another warehouse operation is transshipment or breaking bulk. So let's take the focal firm's warehouse, or let's take the customer's warehouse. When goods are being moved from the supplier site to the focal firm warehouse, or when they are being moved from the the focal firm site to the customer's warehouse, they are usually in bulk and they are usually palletized on a pallet, and so they are moved to the warehouse so that those palletized goods can be broken bulk into separate unit items or unit loads so that they can be easily stored or they can be easily used if that is the case. Then another operation is cross-docking. So when you take a consolidation center or a distribution center, where let's take Amazon. Amazon takes orders from various aspects of the country, and then they have to combine all those orders, and let's say orders that are going to Ghana, they will just put all of them into one. When they come to Ghana, they go to a specific warehouse where they are broken bulk, like they are broken down in based on the various locations that they are going, and then they are dispatched. A typical activity occurs in a distribution center, and that activity is what we call cross-docking, where goods are received but they are not stored, but they are broken down into the various less than unit items so that they can be dispatched to their various locations. Then another activity is sortation. So sortation can be seen in the typical cross-docking or distribution site where the goods are sorted based on the location that they are going, or the goods are sorted based on their certain unique characteristics. And then another key element of the warehouse is they fulfill orders. They help to facilitate the fulfillment orders, and they serve as fulfillment centers so that as and when goods are needed, they are put together and made available to where they are needed. So for a warehouse to be considered ideal, they should be at a convenient location. There should be availability of mechanical appliances to load and unload goods. There should be adequate space storage facilities, proper arrangements for protection, sufficient parking space, and all these so that their warehouse can be said to be actually an ideal warehouse.